Hey everybody. So this looks like it's going to be a part 2 follow-up video to my previous one involving the diorama that I made for the black hole figures, which is this one right here that you can see. So after looking at this thing, I do love it and I think it's cool, but it's so much bigger than what I kind of would like. I mean, this has got to fit on a shelf somewhere, and I am at a premium when it comes to space because my collection is just getting completely out of hand. So I need to find a much smaller version of this, much smaller. So I'm already kind of working on it right here. As you can see, this is kind of how I started making the other one. So this is the bottom and these are the sides. So I just kind of made these same triangles. So these are going to go like this, and then this one's going to be attached like this. So it's going to be kind of a very similar situation, but you can see this is way smaller. Now this might be actually too small. I'm not really sure. Like I said, like I did on the last one, I'm just kind of winging it, but we'll see. So yeah, we're just kind of starting with the basic parts here and kind of see where this is going to go. Alright, so now I have got all these pieces glued together, and this is exactly the way I built the big one. So it's the same thing. I just got all the sides glued on here. You can see it's all, the same kind of weird cone shape there. And I also have the top made. I miscalculated on this. The original one I had was way too small, so this one's a little bit better. I beveled the edges so that it's going to fit up here like this. So anyway, yeah, we're going to see how that works. So I'm going to go out and paint this now. We're going to make it black again. I'm still a little confused on, or at least I'm just not sure about how I'm going to decorate the inside, because I'm not going to do all the fancy stuff that I did on this one, because you can see there's just way so much detail on here. I'm going to have to do a much more simplified version of this. I may just use, I don't know, maybe just draw it on a piece of paper and glue them in, or maybe I'll just do all pinstriping and just forget about everything as far as like the tubing and stuff down there, because there's not enough room, since these are pretty thick. There's not enough room for that to fit down in here. And I don't even know what I'm going to do about the bridge, because the figures are, let me see if I can kind of show you. The figures they're so big, which I am grateful that that Diamond Select made these things really big, but as far as trying to make them fit, they're going to take up the entire front end of this thing. So yeah, I'm still working on figuring out all the details, so we'll check it out as we go. Alright, so now we got everything painted, and I painted the lid. I think I had to recut this a little bit to make it fit a little bit better. So let me see. So that's going to fit on here. It's not going to fit completely perfect. I'm going to have to do some adjusting to take care of that gap. So the next thing is, I'm still trying to figure out what to do on the interior. So I did cut this piece for the bridge, and it's just going to fit right in here like that. And it's going to be wider so that it's kind of more in scale with the figures, because these figures are pretty big. That's the original one. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is just have this, and then I'll do the same kind of door, the triangular shaped door that goes here and here, but it's going to be bigger. It'll go up to the halfway point, and I'll just do the same effect that I used on that one. I'll try to paint it to look similar to that. And as for the sides, I think I'm just going to forego using this stuff. I'm not going to use these. They're too thick and they're too hard to cut and everything. I think it's just going to have to be simple. I'm just going to go back to using the pinstriping, and either the thin one or the thick one. I think the thick is going to be too thick, so I think I'm just going to stick with the thin one, and then just make the triangles go down there and try to match up the triangles for the top. Hopefully I can make them look about right. And then the other thing is, for all those pipes down there, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with that, because I still got to put the meteor in there, and I got to have enough room for that. So here, let me put this lid back on. So let me put that back on top. So let me just kind of part this together. So this is when I made the meteor for the first one, as I mentioned in my first video, that one there. It was this Christmas ball decoration I found at Hobby Lobby, and this is the smaller one that I ended up not using. So I think it'll actually work in this. I can just set it in there like that. It's going to be closer to the figures now. And then I'll still have to put some smoke in there, because see how you can see around the edge? That was the problem I ran into there, and I put some smoke in there to kind of cover that. So I'll have to do something like that again. And I'll probably just get the lights out of there and put them in this one. And then thankfully, that with the smoke and everything in there, it's not going to leave much stuff exposed down here. So I won't have to do too much crazy detailing for any kind of piping. What I might do is pull those really smaller dowels that I use for the back. Maybe I'll pull those out and then just use those for the piping down here. I haven't really decided. I got to do something there. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the ceiling yet. I haven't gotten that far. But whatever the case, there's just not a lot of room here. I mean, I probably should get my other Vincent and Bob figures, because I'm kind of scared to cut these off yet in case this doesn't work out. I don't want to, you know, completely ruin this one. And I don't want to have to lace those threads. You can see the threads right there. I don't want to have to redo that. The threads are going to be much, much shorter for here, because, I mean, the figures are going to be like this big in here. So it's only going to need like a little, you know, short amount of thread to make them look like they're floating. But, yeah, all right. Well, that's what I've got now at this point, and we'll see how it goes on the next step. Okay, so today I actually got quite a bit of work done on this today. I haven't worked on this in the last few days. To be honest with you, I've been working on a couple of Lego sets that kind of took my attention away from this. But today I was kind of determined I wanted to get some more work done on it. So I got quite a bit done. So as you can see, I actually have the bridge now. I put the trim on the front of the bridge, make it look nicer. And I wasn't going to put trim on the edges here, but I think I'm going to, because see, that's what it looks like when you don't put trim on it, and I don't particularly like the way that looks. So I will trim those out as well. But anyway, I trimmed it, painted the bridge, the same silver I used before, and this time the doorways are bigger, because since the whole thing is smaller, I can actually make the door look like it kind of did in the movie, because the doorway was actually pretty huge. But I really like the way that turned out. It looks really cool. And also I did all the pinstriping on the side here for the triangle. So I really like the way that turned out too. I'm not really going to worry too much about the forced perspective that I did on the original, so I'm not going to really worry about these ones getting smaller as they go back, because honestly, I think that's about as far back as I think it's going to go, because you can see I just ended it right there. Because once I get, this is going to be the meteor right here, so once that sits in here, it's going to sit more closer to the front. In fact, it's going to be almost touching the robots, because the robot's going to be right here and right here. So when I put the lid on, let me grab the lid here. See, it's got to be far enough up that the ball will fit in there. And so I might be able to scoot it back just a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be much more tighter inside here. And so, but I still like it. And I scrapped these from the original piece. And I'm just going to kind of roughly place them in here like this. I'm going to do about 3 per side. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave the middle empty, because I got to have room for the meteor. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get my finger in there. But yeah, see, it's just going to be a much more simplified version. I might put a little bit of pinstriping in there just to kind of help give it a little more detail. I think I might do that. And then, of course, I got to decorate this thing to look like the original. There's the original, so I gutted out the lights. You can see all that hot glue I used. And so I got to put all those in there. That's the smoke that I had back there, or the dust cloud. So I'm going to continue using this, but I'm going to have to trim down all this middle section here, because there's way too much. So at least I can reuse it. But I got to tell you, it really pained me to start gutting this thing, because I put so much work into this and it took me so long. But it is just too big. It's just not going to fit. And even when I was done building it, I just kind of knew I was going to be redoing this. I just knew it. But like I said, this one wasn't a big experiment anyway. So at least this time around, working on this one, I've got a little bit better idea what I want to do with it. And honestly, these pinstriped, as I called it, girder work that was seen in the movie, I think that looks much better, actually. I really like it's, you know, I mean, simpler is better. You don't always have to go completely crazy with this stuff. So anyway, so I guess the next step is going to be gluing in these things, getting the ball to look like the meteor that I had before, which is kind of fun to do. And I think I'll do some pinstriping there. So I will show what I have on the next segment. Okay, so I was going to stop working on it after that last segment, but I just get kind of addicted to working on stuff like this, and I couldn't tear myself away. So I went ahead and glued in the little tube things in there. You can see I got all that done. And I just went ahead and reused some of the ones that I had left over from the bigger diorama. And I just added in some pinstriping in the middle, even though I don't really think you're going to see that much of it. So I at least got all that done. And then the other thing I did is, this is the lid. So I went ahead and did all the grid lining on this. And so that's going to sit like this on here. Just have to kind of, well, let me see if I can lay it on there a little better. But you can kind of see how that's going to look. Originally I was going to salvage this thing here, which was the scaffolding that went across the top on the back. I was going to try to put it in here somewhere, but I think it's going to make it look a little too busy. And also the fact that the figures are pretty big. So if I grab Vincent here and I put him in here, I mean, they're going to be just suspended just a little. I mean, I'm going to have to cut these threads that are on him right here. I'm going to have to cut those much shorter. And they're just going to be barely hanging in there. But they're between the figures being right there and the meteor that's going to be sitting back there, there's just not going to be enough room for, you know, this piece. And so I think I'm just going to forego that. Just keep it simple with the grid lines on there. So yeah, I think I've made that decision. Also, because of that gap that's going on right there, I've decided I'm going to use this stuff. So this was part of the original diorama as well, and so I'm going to put these up on the top in the corner right here, and then that'll hide the gap, and it'll add a little bit of color in there, because for the most part this is pretty monochromatic. So I think a little bit of splash of orange in there might look pretty cool. And this thing here, let me see if I can focus in on this. It's hard to do everything one-handed. So I needed to put an end cap on this because these were actually the back ones that were they were further in the back of the old diorama. Here you can see the old one. I tore everything out of there. And so these were the ones in the front, and I made end caps for these because they just look, actually this one's better because it doesn't have that line on it. But here you can kind of see. So it just looks more finished. And so I'm just going to do the same thing with this. So I just cut a round piece of the styrene plastic here, and then I glued it on. And then I'm going to let this dry overnight. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of sandpaper and, you know, sand it like this and just go round and round like that. And then that's how you get it to the even amount of the or the even circumference of this. And that's exactly how I did these. So, and then I'm just going to spray the end of it this orange color. And then, yeah, I'll just put it up here in the corner, and I think it'll look pretty cool. And then, let's see, what else did I do? I also ended up working on this thing. So I went ahead and put all the hot glue on here. And it's fun to do this. I don't know why I like doing this so much, but it's kind of therapeutic for some reason. And I made a mark right there, and I didn't put any on that spot so that it makes it because since it's really kind of cramped in here, I need to make sure that the extra height that hot glue is going to add will not, be added to the bottom. So it just makes it, a little bit flatter. It gives me just about a fraction of a millimeter to work with more there. But that's where that's going to be. So tomorrow I'm going to paint that up with the red and orange like I did. This is the old one. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. So yeah, I got a lot of work done on this today. Way more than I had anticipated. So anyway, yeah, I feel good that I kind of got back to work on this. All right, well, that's the latest update. I'll see you in the next segment. Okay, we are almost done. I just now so I have the meteor completely painted and done up. I got the dust cloud in behind there to hide the end of all the forced perspective look in the back. And I also have the lid, and it is, I got these nice orange pipes on here. I did make the little end caps on here, so those look much better now. And then this is going to go on here. And then, let's see, I may have to pause this while I do that. Hang on just a second. Okay, so now I got the lid on, and I'm going to hot glue that in place. And you can see there's a little bit of gappage still going on. So once I hot glue the lid on, I'm going to put a bead of hot glue, let's see, around this edge right here, and on this side too. And then I'll paint it black, and then that will that'll cancel out any of the light leaks coming from there. And then I already made the holes for where the wires are going to go to hang up Vincent and Bob, and you can see they're going to be big. So I mean, everything's going to be kind of crammed in there, but you know, I think it'll look all right. I don't know. Like I said, everything's just a little bit rinky-dink like my last one, but yeah, they're going to be in there. He'll probably be up a little higher, and Bob will be in front. But I think all the essential stuff will be in there that you'll be able to see. It's much more of a compact version, but you know, I had to do what I had to do. That other one was way too big. All right, so the next segment will be the finished product. Okay, I am finally done. I finally got done with this thing. I don't even know how long I've been working on this, but it's finally finished. I think it turned out pretty good. I really like it. Everything is much smaller now, as you can see. It's I don't know, it's almost cramped, but I do think it's much better because now I mean, at least I can put it on a shelf now. I mean, yeah, this is way smaller than what I originally had, but if the idea is still there, I still have, you know, pretty much everything I had in the other one. And I think it looks pretty good. I mean, you know, the idea here is just the main climactic scene at the end of the movie. But I think it turned out pretty good. I really like the way it looks. Just a much more simplified version. I really like the way those hallways turned out. Those look really cool. I kind of really like the way that looks. So I finished everything in. I finally glued everything together, and I put the trim on the edge here that you can see now. That looks, you know, more finished now. I think that looks better. And let's see, what else was I doing from the last segment? Well, I guess it was just putting these guys in. I did finally put I put some covers on the top like before. I'm gonna have to do something with these wires. It looks a little screwy there, but I just kind of velcroed it in. Everything looks exactly the same as it did before. I mean, it's just a much smaller version of it. So yeah, I like it. I think it looks really cool. At least it's displayable now. That other one, I as much as I like it, it just was way too big. I had no place to put it. Okay, so now I got it up here on the shelf, and you can see I got it next to my original figures. And now I got this little one over here. I'm not actually sure I'm going to keep it on this shelf. I think I'm going to put it upstairs, because since I have these guys on display down here, I may as well have something else upstairs. But I think that looks really good. It goes good with my model that I built of the Reliant, and then there's the Dio that I did a review on, video on. This is a runabout model that I built a while back, and some other Lego sets. But yeah, I think this looks cool. I think it turned out really good. I mean, at least now I can put it on the shelf. It's actually fits on there just perfect. It's just the right depth. The depth is the main part I was really concerned about. And of course you don't want it too wide, because then it takes up too much room. So I really had to shrink this down just enough to fit on here, but still get most of the details in there. I mean, you can still see, you know, pretty much everything in there. You can still see how the, let me see if I can zoom in. You can still see the dust cloud back there, and the little piping, and everything is still in there. So it actually looks pretty cool. I like it. I like it. It was a lot of work. I can't believe I worked so hard on something like this, but it was just fun. It's another fun project, and it's been bugging me ever since I built the other one that it was just too big. and then I really hadn't, I mean, it was just sitting on the floor for the last, you know, whenever I filmed that video. And so, you know, it was just kind of, I felt bad that I put all this work into it and it was just sitting on the floor. I had absolutely no place to put it. I mean, just this is an example of how full my shelves are getting with just random stuff, because I like to build model kits, Lego, and everything else, and it just takes up so much room. For those of us who collect things, you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, I like it. This turned out pretty cool, and well, anyway, thanks for watching my little adventure on making this thing, and I appreciate you guys watching, and like and subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastic day.